Let's get to this chart. It's 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific. Let me do a clean intro for everybody else. You guys, welcome to Astrological Coffee Talk with Eric. Today we'll be talking about Uranus and Gemini on the 7/7 portal, July 7, 2025. It will transit in for a sneak preview. It officially will go in April of 2026. And it's about 7 years, and then, retrogrades back from Cancer, and we'll be there to about 2034. So this is a fascinating energy, and this is a Monday, and this is the original chart. Now, obviously, this is the East Coast, West Coast. On the East Coast, it's sometimes, you guys, and I don't know how much you've noticed it, people who really like to bring up charts, I know Bella, but sometimes when you're going, let's say, because of the longitude and latitude, let's say in Miami or New York, this may not be a Cancer rising, right? It may be a Gemini or a Leo, but for most of, the West Coast or whatever. But really, it's always about the degrees and the signs and the placements and the aspects that they make to tell the story. But we will start off breaking it down with Cancer rising, and then I'll go to Leo, and we'll end off with Gemini. I will not switch it because that will throw it off, right? So we want to just kind of look at the snapshot. So obviously we're looking at the Uranus and Gemini in the 12th house, and when it comes in, it's in a conjunction to Venus. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of let you look at the whole chart for a second, and then I'll zoom in and we'll dance around. But obviously when it first comes in, right, it's a trine to the Pluto and Aquarius, but you see we've got this Sagittarius moon on that day, all right? And, obviously Mars has moved along, Mercury, the sun's in Cancer, Mercury's moved into Leo, and, we still have the Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node, all right? So let's dip in. This is with the Cancer ascendant. So focusing on the Uranus and Gemini, what's interesting is that this will definitely affect our president, right? He'll be going through, even though it's in that 7 years, it will take a bit, right? Because that's really 84 when you have your return. And he's just going to be turning, I think, 79 this year, or 80. I think it's 79. So through this 7 years, though, he will have his Uranus return, but it's also going to be hitting his natal sun. So that's going to be really interesting to see through the rest of the presidency, but specifically as it's hitting his sun, could this bring in some sort of dementia, Alzheimer's? Could this make him more of a rebel, right? Or could this make him be something that is really becoming this vanguard of freedom and liberation for humanity? I mean, God knows we could hope that it would bring that instead of the other stuff, and maybe totally switch what's happening now, but who knows, right? But that's in terms of the major player on the scale because of him having the Uranus natally in the sun. But this affects America greatly, right? Obviously, what's happening is that America's natal moon is Aquarius, and then it has Mars and Uranus, I believe, in Gemini in the 7th house, and the Sagittarius ascendant. So, this is definitely an interesting chart. The main thing that we have to focus on, though, from the 12th house, right, is this trine to Pluto in the 8th. Now, Pluto at 3 degrees, we're going to experience this because Uranus, I think it gets up to about 2 degrees and then retrogrades back, maybe 1 degree. It doesn't move too far in. It's just dipping the toe in for a few months, okay? But this is the sneak preview. If you guys remember, I've been telling you 2025 is the year of coming attractions in the movie theater, sneak previews, right? It's kind of letting us know what 2026 to 2039 to 2044 to 2029 to 2033, right? And what I'm saying for you guys to know are the dates of these major transits. Saturn and Aries, right? We see this up here, right? The Saturn-Neptune conjunction. You won't get the exact conjunction until February of 2026 when they both bailando, dance into Aries permanently, okay? These two are going to retrograde back. I think it's October 22nd and September 1st. I can't remember exactly, but I think those are the dates, okay? So, but one thing that you've got to also remember, right? This is in play, the Uranus sextile to Saturn, So there is about an energy when it's first coming in of some sort of stability, right? And so one thing that you've got to consider, especially for this chart and the Cancer rising people, dreams are going to be off the charts. Uranus and Gemini, you guys, is going to be an injection where I think these things, these cell phones, by 2033, they may be null and void. And some of these things I saw when I was in coma. Okay, I literally saw the apps floating like outside of the computer, no more mouses, like you're moving things with your finger. I saw like, and I encourage you all to go back and watch The Matrix and Total Recall, because I did see kind of like that wall voice chat, right? And I don't know if you guys remember that movie, everybody. And I said that in my Uranus Gemini video that I sent you guys last night. Make sure you watch it. That, we kind of have it now, right? Everybody can have their own YouTube channel or IG channel, but it may be where it's like everybody is kind of like their own walking reality show. And I don't know if that's going to be forced upon us, that everything is watched with smart home, smart TV, smart this, smart that. Obviously, we know about Neuralink and all these different dreams of, Mr. Elon, who would love to put chips in our hands and heads and yada, 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 and transhumanism and all that stuff. Please do not let convenience lead you to the road to hell and caught up in that foolishness. But I see where so many people, they're like, oh, I'll have a robot in my home. Somebody just said that to me the other day. And, oh, I'll do this. And I'm like, really? Like, just be mindful and careful, because what you think is bringing you convenience can also enslave you. Okay. Now with Cancer risings and the sun being in Cancer, it does soften all this energy, right? Cancer, just so you guys know in astrology, Cancer and Leo are the most pure signs, right? They call them the Vedic Sapphic signs, right? They're very pure. Okay. But with us having Cancer season and Mercury and Leo at this time, now that's out of the sextile range. But I like this Uranus, Venus, Gemini, Uranus, Venus conjunction in Gemini, because this is going to really increase where you're going to see dating apps, I think, based on numerology and astrology, become more mainstream. I think there may be one or two out there that I'm not familiar with because I'm not dating. And God bless you guys who are, because I would be so afraid to be dating in this time period, because I don't know who you could trust, how you could trust. You're worried about health and this and that. Like, it is like, whoo, the wild, wild west out there, right? And so, but Uranus, Venus, right? I want you to know Venus, right, is our relationships. It is actually sperm, the seed of life. It's our values. It's our arts, culture, entertainment. It can be the females in our life. It's our vehicles. So you're going to see where maybe, now you guys, nothing's new under the sun, right? We've always already had free energy. We already had gas running on, the ethanol in Brazil, the corn, we've had gas on water, hydration. Like we've had all this stuff. But most inventions, if they're curing cancer or different health things, or they're making free energy or this or that, they just get taken out. They get assassinated or unalived, right? As the young kids say. But the reality is, Uranus, Venus, we're going to see huge shifts, and this transit and this sneak preview will show it. But I think that in this like little period, July, August, September, you're going to see some things that are dropped, whether it's through AI or ChatGPT or different things about dating apps, about doing certain things with your vehicles. There's already, I don't know if you guys heard, there's a black company, I believe in Atlanta, that just launched electric vehicles. And they're supposed to be really good, different from the Tesla, but they're supposed to be really good. So these are the types of things that are going to be popping up. But when you're having the Uranus trine Pluto, this is also great for our ascension. And this is why I want us to focus on Saturn, Neptune, Aries, but the Pisces North Node. Our spiritual discipline is the key to get us out of this craziness of the 3D matrix. Right? I'm not saying you can avoid, and just so you guys don't get confused, it's not like we're leaving planet Earth, right? It's not the book of Revelations and stuff like that where people are being plucked up into the sky or whatever. And please understand, they will use astrology and numerology to manipulate events to activate or to go along with the book of Revelations, right? Everyone, can see it and read it, right? So don't think that when they do this and red herrings in Israel and, oh, this mountain, this and this temple and that, they're orchestrating this stuff, guys. So don't get caught up in some biblical prophecy, right? That it's like, oh my God, that happened, or oh my God, this is the last pope, and that. Oh, by the way, he does have a little Haitian lineage in him, so he is a little part black. I don't know if he acknowledges it or not, but he's American. He, obviously is a Peruvian national for years there, whatever. But even this, right? Don't get caught up in any of this stuff because all these structures and systems have to die. But we are here to help pour the cement, to help create the new earth. And that means that we've got to imagine these communities that I'm talking about, right? My community, your communities, whatever. But for us to really not exist in the old paradigms, the old structures and systems. Remember Lot's wife in the Bible, right? When she turned around, right, to stone and salt. Like, do not yearn for it. I mean, yes, it's going to suck when Bank of America and Chase Bank all of a sudden won't accept money anymore, and then everything goes digital, and then you're like scrambling. But I encourage you, it's not about investing in Bitcoin and stuff like that, but just start to read and get research and information, and maybe have your own, because I'm like starting to do this stuff now, like your own digital wallet, so that if these mechanisms switch, you're not left behind, you're not scrambling, right? That you maybe, purchase one Bitcoin, one Ethereum, one, but the main ones that are going to be, because I don't know if you've heard the announcements of the deals, right? Ripple has a deal with Apple. A lot of the banks and different big money firms and groups are connecting an XRP and XLM. These will be the actual mechanisms for transferring money. And I'm not saying it's good. I think in some ways there's financial freedom and sovereignty, but there's also checkmate, because that's how you get China and you get social credit scores, and how you get like, oh, you bought soda this week, Janice, you can't have, and I know Janice, she's a herbalist, she don't mess with those soda and stuff like that, but you can't, you bought steak and soda, you'll be a strain on our healthcare system, so now you can't travel for a month, right? They will have the ability to enslave us that way if everything becomes completely digitalized and you couldn't give a dollar bill to your mom or aunt or to a homeless person. So, some things are good and some things are really bad, Now, as we start to look more in this chart, I want to ask you guys and open it up, and we'll still kind of looking at the Cancer rising. We're going to get to Leo shortly. Any thoughts on the Sag moon, which is kind of opposing the Venus and Uranus? The opposition is still, within I like the orbs to be tighter, to be honest. I like a 5-degree orb, but this is still hitting, and the moon is still, within 0 to 7 or 0 to 8, some astrologers like to go to for oppositions, right? The only orb that you want a 10-degree orb, and just so you know, for like Kim and other people that aren't sure, right? The orb is the distance between the planets, right? So 0 and 3, that's a 30-degree orb. When you're dealing with a conjunction, you can go from 0 to 10. When you're dealing with squares and oppositions, some people like to go 0 to 3, 0 to 5, some 0 to 7. I think that's a lot. I like to do it a 5-degree orb. Do you find that, Bella? The 5-degree orb is the best for squares and oppositions?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, I think 7
Yeah.
and 8 is kind of like wishy-washy and not
Uh-huh.
consistent.
Depending, like if it's outer planets, then I feel like it can go a little bit more.
Okay,
But
that's fair.
like for me, because they're so slow moving,
They're
because
so
I've
slow moving,
noticed,
yeah.
yeah, because I've noticed with like I have a 9-degree um orb between Neptune and my ascendant, and I definitely still feel that Neptune
Okay.
very strongly.
And you see, and you guys, this is what's so perfect, because we can look at textbooks and you can look at every astrology book, but what's more important, remember I tell you guys right at this time, I've been saying it before the election, right? Become the president and leader of your own lives, but also become your own media. Turn off the television. And that media is not just for information and knowledge, it's also for connecting to these cosmos. Use your intuition of Lilith. Tap into your Chiron and Pluto, but trust what you're feeling, your gut intuition inside. And so even with the trines and sextiles, I like to keep that at no more than 5 degrees, sometimes with a trine, maybe even 7, but really 5 degrees is the most of the max of the orb. So, but this opposition, you could say the sun, the moon and Sag is opposing both Venus and Uranus. Okay. In terms of this Cancer sun, it is, starting to get to that point where it's getting close to trining. In Scorpio, we have kind of the Lilith, not so much, but more so this Pisces North Node. Okay, and so we have to kind of get into this place where the Pisces North Node is pushing us as a collective, right, to really embrace our spiritual path, our creativity, and our imagination, increasing our compassion, empathy, grace, and mercy for ourselves first, okay? And then you extend that out to spouse and children and parents and obviously children probably before even the spouse, but you know what I mean? But always yourself first. We have got to, as my tagline, right? Retire from negative self-talk. It does not serve you. And neither does the gossiping, because the subconscious mind thinks you're talking about yourself. So any questions or any thoughts with this Cancer rising and this chart just in general, you guys? Anything you're noticing, even with this Leo Mercury, communicating from our heart chakra, that is also going to help us at this time. Okay? But any questions or any thoughts with Uranus and Gemini trining Pluto and Aquarius, though, too, you have to remember that can bring in huge sudden events of transformations and give you the ability to increase your self-love through deep shadow work. See, Venus, Uranus, Pluto. That's the shadow work. And the communication is going to be like rapid fire. Okay?
Well, and also what I feel with this too, because that eighth house is also karmic contract. So that Uranus is going to help break free any contracts that you have with other people where there's a power dynamic. That Pluto is really asking you to really step into your own personal power and look at where you've been giving your power away to others. And then that eighth house is other people's resources, right? And then that Palace of theme there, being strategic about that.
Yeah. And what's fascinating, and that's specifically for this chart in the Cancer rising. Also, one thing with the Pluto in Aquarius, especially for Cancer risings, we'll get to Leo next and go around. I think that we've got to think about, remember the eighth house is anything hidden underground, not just the metaphysics and occult knowledge, but the ancient oils like doTERRA, the herbs, the crystals, the spirulina, ashwagandha, sea moss, burdock root, right? All these different things, iron, magnesium, the minerals. So this is where, and this can get us into, you may see a lot of people this summer, I'm going on a retreat, man, I'm going to do some ayahuasca. Like this could be that summer where everybody's microdosing, and in some ways it may serve us, right, for all this sanity.
There's a lot of good benefits if the intentions behind it. A lot of people have been abusing it though, and saying, and that's the other part of it, and that's that Neptune, that's the whole Pisces energy. I feel like is that Neptune going into Aries is clearing away a lot of that.
Yes, and getting rid of you guys, no more of this Cancer culture and pity. Oh my God, this is the thing. People get offended that you're offended, right? And that happens unfortunately sometimes with racism, things like that, or just pointing out sexism. Like, you can't become the victim because you've already offended or hurt someone else and then they just point it out to you. That is very much Pisces, Neptune. And so at this time in this chart, Saturn and Neptune, and I just want to say, Saturn and Aries, we talked about it at last Coffee Talk. Remember, it is slowing down that Aries energy. But it is also, because it's in its fall there, it is really speaking to, we got to slow down this summer. The Uranus is telling you it's going to activate Mercury, right? Uranus is the higher octave. So thought, consciousness, And when you move in your physical body, you are going to get a lot of downloads when you are communicating, moving your hands. This could literally, like, you may start to get your hands heated up, and like you could be like, boom, right? We can become Jedis this summer. That this transit is going to activate a lot of Reiki masters too. But Saturn Aries, we have to not be overly impulsive. We cannot overly react, arguments, fights, stuff like that. Like Saturn in Aries is like also arthritis, migraine headaches. So one thing I'll say, Uranus is the central nervous system. At this time, if you're feeling really out of it and stressed or overly anxious, put your hands in warm water, squeeze sponges, lotion the back of the neck, the temples, behind the ears, also the hands, and then also sound bowls and frequencies, right? I just did a thing, my wife and I, calming down my son's nervous system. He was having a little panic attack, and Lana like literally put the sound bowl and was playing it on his back when he was laying on the floor. Totally calmed down my little Leo. Okay, so just remember that's the resonance, right? I'm gonna have Dr. Karen Michelle on my podcast, and she plays the harp. She's a psychic medium. She's been on before, but she'll be on live, and she's done readings and has been invited to Lilydale. Look that up, upstate New York. They had a documentary on HBO. Incredible. It's like a whole psychic little village. It's incredible. So you want to get into the to the residents and the residents of Gaia Mother Earth. Okay. So let's go to Leo rising, and you guys can ask questions as we go along. But with Leo risings, Uranus, Gemini, and Venus, right? That's going to be in the 11th house. Mercury on the ascendant. And they're going to have the Sag moon in their 5th house. So for Leo risings, and just real quick, Cancer risings, really watch your hips and thighs. And with this Sag moon, you've got to, in your daily routine, go for a walk, Cancer risings, afternoon, evening, sun setting, right? But you got to move the hips and highs. Remember, the 6th house, we're dealing with health and sicknesses, but it is digestion, right? So that's just really important for the Cancer risings. But everybody at this time, the moon in Sagittarius, what does it want? Wisdom, beliefs, philosophies. Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, right? I live with a Sag moon. Sag moons are they can be pretty tough sometimes, emotionally, right? And Janice, you have this as well. Sag moons, they want to expand their mind. They want to learn. They want knowledge and information, but they want to share it. So emotionally, this is going to be important at this time. Now, Leo risings, Uranus and Venus in the 11th house. Woof. Leo risings, this is the time with the Pisces North Node in the 8th house. I mean, listen, become the astrologer, live the astrology, eat, drink the astrology, right? Maybe dating apps over the internet, things like that. In the 5th house, your Sag moon, creativity, teaching something to your children, pouring the wisdom out this summer, going into early fall over your kids, right? And really teaching finance, teaching them about crypto, okay? Teaching them about this new money, teaching them about freedom and liberation, sovereignty, right? I had you send your rose on, right? We've got to also think about, how we can get off of this whole, holy trinity of London, the Vatican, and DC, right? So this is where we've got to keep an open mind. And Leo risings, you're going to be exploring the spiritual realms. But Leo risings, you definitely want to join my community, spiritual communities, Uranus and Venus in the 11th house. Your social network can really support you and be tapped in. And remember, the 11th house is astrology, aliens, UFOs, the internet, older siblings, your father's siblings, stepchildren, nonprofit, philanthropic work, wild exotic animals, Leo risings. Hey, I know Leo risings, you may like a little lizard, or you may get like a chameleon or like an iguana or a big snake at this time. I actually know a Leo rising that like had like a huge white, like those big white snakes. So, that stuff is very literal with Uranus. And this is actually Trump's chart too, Leo rising with Uranus and Venus in the 11th house. And the 11th house is the president, vice president, Congress, Senate. Remember, the 10th house is the government, the authorities, the father in your life. The 5th house is political discussion and debate. So the 11th house is the actual offices, right? President, vice president. And I guess you'd probably say the Supreme Court too. I think I'm going to do a video breaking down. I was going to do a coffee talk about it, but I think I may just do it as a video and just release it for everybody. Breaking down the U.S. Supreme Court. I was looking at that chart. Very fascinating. Okay. And obviously, with all that's going on, that's going to be bigly in play for at least for the next 3 years, right? But I mean, just always is in play with a lot of different rulings. Anything else with Leo risings? Mercury on the ascendant, a lot of talking at this time. The messenger, right? A lot of communications. Mercury's in its planetary joy in the first house. And real quick, just to go through the planetary joys, Mercury, first house, Moon, third house, Venus, fifth house. And just so you know, Kim and everybody else, the planetary joy, it's like where the planet kind of like really feels most at home or connected, and it will perform better there separate from what the sign is. You know what I mean? The joys. It finds its joy. It's rejoicing there. The fifth house, Venus.
Eric, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
just a question. Did you say I see Mercury in the second house. Did you?
Yes, you do. But we're talking about the chart of the Leo rising now. And so that
Um,
led me and activated the brain because Mercury on the ascendant in Leo, right? Because we're going around counterclockwise. So
okay.
Leo, and then we'll go to Virgo next. Mercury will be on the ascendant for Leo, and it's in its planetary joy there.
Okay, got you.
Right? So then that's why I went to the moon third, Venus fifth, Mars sixth, right? Sun in the ninth, okay? The 11th is Jupiter and Saturn. It's only Sun to Saturn, the seven traditional planets. Saturn, planetary joy, is in Pisces because of jails, prisons, isolation, and karmic death, the end of the road. In your own individual chart,
You
not
mean
in the
12th
natal
house, not
chart.
Pisces.
Huh?
You mean 12th house, not
Oh
Pisces.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, 12th house exactly.
Yeah.
Associated, but not exactly. Yeah, exactly. Saturn finds its planetary joy in the 12th house. Okay, and just so you guys know, right? Remember, I tell you, no spiritual person, no astrologer should ever predict death. But through transit, and there's multiple alignments, so don't ever fear anything. In the fourth house, we can see the end of your mother's life. The eighth house, the end of the father. The 12th house, the end of your own life. Right? I give you the quick example. My mother passed away when Saturn was in Aquarius in my fourth house in my own personal chart. So there's the example. And she's a Pisces rising. She literally died in the hospital. Saturn was in Aquarius in the 12th house. So there's a literal example, okay? So now, wrapping up the Leo risings, you're going to feel very mercurial. You're going to feel like you've got a lot to say at this time. And just watch out because you can suddenly have a friend turn on you. You can suddenly have a friend become a lover, okay? Leo risings with Venus and Uranus here in the 11th house, okay? But you definitely want to seek out spirituality. And maybe there's a lot of transformation going on until 2044 in your relationships and those dynamics. But don't forget the 7th house is also the marketplace. So this is where you could be selling astrology jewelry. You could become the astrologer, Leo rising. You could get into numerology, esoteric, healing, healing arts, any of that stuff, okay? But it can reveal, Pluto digs up the shadows. And in Aquarius, it's digging up, this is for all rising signs right now, it's going to be digging up the shadows of the dark web, AI, crypto, FEMA, right? Trump is trying to get rid of FEMA. He just got rid of the head of FEMA, right now. So, Red Cross, these environmental things, nonprofits. It's going to dig up stuff around the medical field, science, technology, research, okay, flight, aviation. Okay, they're working on like air traffic controllers. They're bringing in new technology. They want to bring in, I forgot how many billions to have that all changed and fixed within 3 years. But you have a lot of people, like in Newark Airport, they went on strike or just walked out, right, because of the rhetoric and the foolishness of of our president, right? So there's just so much going on right now. Now Virgo risings, right? So obviously we're dealing with Mars in Virgo and the South Node. Now, Mars in Virgo, I have it natally, and so I will tell you straight up and down, it is heavy mental. But never forget, Mars is logistics. It's like problem solving. Mars is the soldier warrior, but it's our willpower drive. For men, it's the sex drive. For ladies and everybody, it's brothers, but it's also boyfriends. Okay? But Mars is how we kind of get up out of the bed and attack the world, right? If the sun wants a big piece of chicken, Mars will be like, okay, boss, I'll go get it for you, right? It is that soldier in general, okay? And Mars is also property and land. So Virgo risings with Uranus and Venus, you could be changing your career at this time. Uranus and Venus in the 10th house. You could be really kind of really focusing on improving your nutrition and your health. Mars on the ascendant with the South Node, you've got to investigate the self-love and your spiritual discipline and practice. And then maybe it may be a great time for a parasite cleanse or different things, because Pluto's in the 6th house of your health, Virgo risings. So parasite cleanses, intermittent fasting, right? I told you guys I've been doing once a month. April was not a great month for myself and my wife, but I can tell you since we started fasting, I didn't tell you this, Bella, since we started fasting in December, and each month we decided to do a 7 to 10 day fast. April, I did honestly about 2.5 days. It was just hard. But May, starting I think either next week or the week after, in May, I'm going to do another 7 days. And whether it's the master cleanse, cayenne pepper, organic maple syrup, lemon juice, and water, alkaline or distilled water, some, real clean water. Spring water is the best. You can do so much, but for me, it was about mucus, about gut health, about cleansing, but I lost a ton of weight. I mean, I'm back to when I was actively modeling weight, right? So I told you guys when I was at my sickest with the valley fever, I maxed out. I'm 5'11". I maxed out at 240. I'd never been overweight in my life. That was crazy. And I was really sick, right? Then when I got married in '08, I was only like 187, right? I got down to 179. So like I really lost a lot of weight, but it wasn't for that. But it was like cool. But now like I need like new clothes. Things are falling off of me. So but this is what's important. And Virgo risings, I'm saying this to say, Virgo risings, you have got to, and we all as a collective, remember, Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node. That's the health axis, you guys. We've got to focus on our nutritional, right, our physical body, and our spiritual mental body, Pisces. Now, Uranus, Gemini, and Venus in the 10th house, what do you think that could do for Virgo risings, you guys? Besides just flip up your career and make you like switch your job, what else do you think? With Uranus and Venus, Gemini, 10th house.
That could also incorporate like new innovative ideas within career.
Yeah, yeah, pushing the envelope, becoming
Uh-huh.
innovative, futuristic, the vanguard. It can also, out of nowhere, for the better, change the relationship with dad. It can make you rebel against the government. It can change the relationship for good things with your dad or bad. But if your father has passed away, Uranus, Venus, you can, get downloads and even like connect outside of the home. This is public, right? This is the jungle, the 10th house, always remember, right? So you could like maybe in nature, connect. Also, guess what? This could be like some sort of new car you're getting to go to work, or maybe you're driving in the Waymos, right? They have those out here in Arizona. I don't know where you guys live, if they have the Waymos, those driverless cars. They're kind of
Hmm.
wild. My son gets in them sometimes and it makes me nervous, and I'm like, okay, just give me a call so I know you're getting there okay, right? But the kids love them. They use them all the time. They just only go certain places because the road has to be like mapped out for the Waymos. So those types of things. Obviously, if we're talking about Virgo risings, all this stuff, Ceres, Neptune, and Saturn in 8th house. So Virgo risings, you are really going to be exploring the esoteric and occult knowledge. And with Ceres here, Virgo risings, talking about health, get into the sea moss, the iron, the magnesium. You guys, we are all magnesium, iron, and calcium deficient. You need, and please stop putting on a sunscreen. I don't care how fair your skin is, you're European, this and that, doesn't matter. Get the sun gazing at sunrise and sunset. It activates the melanin inside your body through the retina. Sunglasses are also not good, right? You don't stare at the sun during the day and burn your eye, but at sunrise and sunset, it's safe. And when you do that, it integrates into your body, right? It's healing a process or activating a process in your body so that you can integrate the sun. When you put sunscreen on your skin, number one, all of them are filled with chemicals, but you're literally cooking your skin. It's like, oh, let me put baby oil on so I could bake. I remember when I was in the Bahamas at 18, I was putting on baby oil and I like sat out there, fell asleep after a night of too much drinking, and I burnt myself. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know I'm black. I can get burnt. Sure enough, I did, right? So there you go, baby oil, right? You can't do that stuff. But it's the same thing with the sunscreen. So Virgo risings really focus on the herbs, the plant medicine, maybe Neptune, Saturn, maybe you are doing a little ayahuasca or mushrooms or microdosing, different things. I'm not encouraging
Very-
anything. Go ahead. I'm just saying it's a
I
chance.
was just going to jump in and say, in that regard, and trying to beef up your mineral intake,
Yes.
um, nutritionally, one of the biggest bangs for your buck are root vegetables.
Mm, yeah.
You're going to get
Give us a
uh,
couple
vegetables.
examples.
Um, I'm currently delving into the ancestral root vegetables. You think carrots, right? Everybody does carrots, and potatoes are root vegetables, sweet potatoes. But there's some other root vegetables that are way more nutritionally dense in terms of magnesium,
Hmm.
potassium, things like rutabagas,
Yeah.
like
I
people
thought you were
eat
going to say that one. Okay. Yeah.
turnips.
Uh-huh.
There's all different kinds of turnips.
Yes.
There's an ancestral vegetable called salsify.
Mm,
I'm actually planting in my garden this year for the first time. I'm so excited.
okay.
My mother used to make salsify when
Okay.
I was a kid, and it just I found the seeds, and I'm just so excited because it is very, very nutritionally dense, and it's one of the root vegetables that saw people through the Depression.
Wow. I
Okay,
love
it's
that.
was so packed with good stuff that everybody grew this vegetable. Everybody did, and everybody ate it in large quantities. So yeah, I just want to throw that in there. Check out root vegetables and try to focus on ones that you've never had before.
Yes, yeah, I like that. That's great advice. Things that we are not necessarily comfortable eating. Remember, I said we got to get
Yeah.
uncomfortable, and that's perfect and great advice. Now I'm looking at the time. Let's get to the Libra rising. So Libra risings, right? This Gemini will be in your ninth house. Okay, so Venus, Uranus, wow, Libra risings, you could really go through, let alone Mars and the South Node in your 12th house, Libra risings, you can go through crazy transformations to your wisdom, beliefs, and philosophies. You can meet a guru or a shaman at this time. You may decide that this is the time for you, Libra risings, to start writing your book this summer, right? With Uranus and Venus there, that is a great opportunity to write like the spiritual sci-fi, to write the fantasy love novel, to, whatever it is. But Uranus is going to literally activate and get ready because it's going to be, it will come back. So for Libra risings, you go through this transit 2033, you're probably going to have a whole new identity and really tap into a lot of new things. And you may go back to school to get a master's or PhD online and maybe go on like a wild trip. Maybe you're going to Machu Picchu. Maybe you're going to Costa Rica. Maybe you're going to Egypt, Libra rising. So that's something to consider, especially in this transit. That's the main thing for Libra risings, but also the Pluto in the fifth house, speculative gains. Libra risings, this is where you could be starting your astrology, your numerology, your oracle card reading, your Reiki master business, right? The fifth house is not guaranteed money, but it's taking the creativity and hobby and, tapping into it. And it's a great time for you, Libra risings, to get an Akashic Records reading. If you've never had one, I can recommend a couple, people that I work with that are really, really good. Just met another new one. She's coming on. Oh my God, guys, the guest I got coming on in May, please don't miss these podcasts. Amanda Romania, she's an Egyptologist, and she's coming on, I think, May 21st. It's going to be wild. She lives in Sedona, and really, really powerful Akashic Records reader as well. So, Libra risings just tap in. I mean, yeah, Libra risings just tap into that with that Pluto. Obviously, you have the Sag moon in your third house and its planetary joy, Libra rising. So there is an element where it's summer, share and teach, when you got Sag moon in the third house, this is where you can be, even doing a little road trip with your mom or the family, but really tapping into new levels of consciousness. And it can suddenly, hey, this Libra risings, it could be like a second marriage too, ninth house. That's just something to consider. Scorpio risings. All right. So with the Scorpio rising, Gemini's in the eighth house, right? We're kind of like moving the dial. So the Gemini will be in the eighth house. You got the Pluto in the fourth. And so that trine, fourth to eighth, there's really something going on for Scorpio risings where you are, exploring the other realms and the other dimensions. And like Bella was saying earlier, right, the shadow work and other people's resources, so this could bring like a sudden boom or a sudden new deal or new products, even for my wife with Sabale Pure, right? Venus, Uranus in eighth house, right? So, but this could be a sudden increase in wealth, right? But at the same time, this is where when you have Scorpio risings, you have Uranus and Venus in eighth house, you could really be tapping in to maybe even female relatives that have passed away from the other side, getting messages from my mom or my aunts or whatever. And I think this is a time because Venus does connect to food in a lot of ways. I could be eating some of those root vegetables that Ms. Janice just spoke about, but also increasing because I've been feeling I want to increase my magnesium and different things at this time. Scorpio risings, hey, I'm just going to say this could definitely be, if you're not married, where you suddenly fall in love and get married and it's just like real, like spiritual, like a past life connection. And definitely microdosing, ayahuasca, stuff like that could happen, and the Sag moon is in your second house. You can definitely, emotionally pull in, things about your speech and finances, and maybe even connect this summer where speaking engagements, right? I'm doing a lot more public speaking. I got an event on the 18th where I'm sharing about my NDE. So those types of things can be increasing for Scorpio risings, and a lot of communication, around the 7-7 portal. But quite literally, because this is a snapshot of this transit, this can take you up until the fall, okay? Sag risings. You got the moon on your ascendant, so everybody's going to be coming to you. Oh my God, did you know Uranus went into Gemini? Sag risings are like, yeah, but you don't even know anything about astrology. Oh, I just saw it on the news and da da da. Like, so Sag risings, you're going to have this in your seventh house, right? So with Uranus, Venus, Sag risings, this can really be a sudden new relationship. This could be where you start to sell things in the marketplace, or you're suddenly purchasing and you're like, you know what, I'm going to do what Eric said. I'm going to get the crystals for my sun, moon, rising and the crystal for my 12th house to put under the pillow and in the bed with me. It may just hit you like, hey, I really need to do that. That may work, or da 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 da, right? Or you start aligning with frequencies and colors and you start doing spiritual meditations or things with your partner, relationship, marriage, or maybe even something in business. Sag risings, you guys are always about finance and biology and business and making money, right? But this could also be going on some short trips this summer, right? Pluto's in your third, so a lot of things are changing for you on social media and in your local community.
Eric,
Yes.
with the stuff in the Uranus in the seventh house too, Sag risings, if they're partnered up, their partner might be going through like spiritual awakenings.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Getting on board with the astrology with them.
Yep. Or a sudden breakup.
Or a sudden breakup too. Yep, that too.
I mean, unfortunately, when Uranus is in the seventh house, you guys, I just
You
been
expect
dealing
the
with that first
unexpected.
seventh house access. And, before it went in, I told Alana, I was like, this is what's going to happen. We're not getting divorced, no affairs, but you're going to be a different person. And I'm going to change a lot in my, life and career, whatever. You know what I mean? And then boom, look what happened. NDE, my wife's a whole nother person and this and that. So it's been really cool. But Sag and Gemini, you're up next. So welcome to the party. You know what I mean? Especially if you're married, Gemini or Sag rising. When Uranus comes here, you're just not the same after a Uranus transit. And I just want to say this for any of you guys getting ready for if you have natally Uranus and Sag, and you're going to be going through the midlife crisis, right? That's like really usually
That's
it's
me.
around 42 to 49 exactly. And so
I'm already preparing.
you're
Like I
feeling
feel like
it.
everything that I'm doing though, I'm like I'm already clearing things away. I'm already like I do the shadow work, so I'm like I'm ready for this breakthrough of what's
No,
coming
you're
through.
totally already ready. And I'll tell you, my Uranus opposition, you guys, is what aligned me to becoming an astrologer. So what I was going to say is that it will take you and do whatever it has to do, even if it has to make you crazy sick with valley fever like me, to say, no, you're not doing sports radio, you're not teaching anymore, you're not doing this. You're going to get really sick, so then you can research medical astrology and then study astrology and this and that and boom, and then whatever, right? So this is what Uranus will do. It will align you to get on your soul's path. That's what the Uranus opposition is about. It is the midlife crisis, and sometimes, this is where people are like, oh, I've got to get me a 25-year-old girlfriend. No, but, or
Because they're
boy,
not spiritually aligned with themselves. That's why they're not living in
right, that's where that can
authentic, being
happen
in
like that.
authenticity.
Exactly. So,
And you said that's if Uranus is natally in Sagittarius?
yes, so
Yeah.
like if you are,
Okay.
yeah, if you have Uranus and Sag, when it goes into Gemini, doesn't matter about the house, it's the Uranus opposition for that 7 years. Uranus is the 7 year itch. Uranus is the midlife crisis. And so we kind of go through these big changes, right, every 2 to 3 years, because that's the moon in the secondary progression chart, just like you go through big changes every 2 to 3 days emotionally. But you go through huge soul rattling changes every 7 years, and that's Uranus. It goes through the chart in 84 years, right? The full cycle. So that's why I said with Trump earlier, he has Uranus and Gemini, but it's not the full return until he gets to about 84. Does that make
You know
sense?
what I read once that that Uranus opposition is the Kundalini awakening.
I kind of feel like it is because I think in a lot of ways,
Barbara Hand Clow writes about it.
yeah,
And
I
I
really,
100% when I read it, I was like, I'm resonating with
yeah,
that because that's where
Me too.
people
I
have
got
that itch.
chills and tingles in my
yeah,
body.
me
Yeah,
too.
yeah. There's this strong Kundalini awakening. That's why it's like literally awakening that like your that
To put you on your
that
soul's path, yeah.
yeah, to put you on your soul's path. It's like that drive, that passion within your soul, like deep within your soul that's been laying dormant. That if you're not tapped into it, then that's when it's like the sudden, shocking, all of a sudden
But
stuff.
on the other side, this is interesting because people may go through stuff, but they still reject it.
Yeah.
So many people have many souls, and this is something I'm trying to wrap my head around, but many souls have incarnated in this life and are choosing to be, as you see everybody saying, NPCs, right? They're just like a non-player character. They're not ever going to awaken. They're going to always stay in my government, my daddy, my Wall Street Journal, New York Times, ABC, NBC, CBS, and never expand their consciousness. So then it's almost like that Uranus opposition, I wonder what that really is doing for them. Just like a tough cycle, like, you know what I mean? Because if they're not awakening,
Exactly. I
yeah,
have a theory about that though too. I feel like those that decide to stay asleep or to continue down that path, they get stuck in that incarnation cycle.
yeah, the
And
reincarnation.
I really truly feel like this lifetime, I'm like, all right, I feel like this is my last cycle
Oh, sure, yeah.
because
Me
I'm
too.
sure
Yeah.
And
that
I
there have
and I
been
want that for
lifetimes.
everybody here because, like, yeah, I mean,
That's what's happening. I literally feel like that's what's happening now. This mass awakening. And now I feel like there's been a lot of us that have been doing it. That's why, like, the
yeah,
year, like thousands of years of persecution, right? And now I'm like, this is the lifetime that we're finally winning. And like, we don't have to keep incarnating back because enough people have awakened now. Enough people that have been asleep for so long have awakened now.
yeah.
And it's different now. We're not being persecuted this lifetime.
I
we're
totally
able to do what we're doing right now without the fear of being burned at the stake or,
yeah.
tossed over in the water and drowned,
No, no, I totally agree. Now, honey, I gotta get through this so we can get to the chart reading. Capricorn rising, right? You're gonna have this in your sixth house. Venus and Gemini. Venus, benefics don't like being in the sixth house, right? Houses 3, 6, 10, and 11 get better over time, but house 6 is a mild malefic house, right? That's why Mars is in its planetary joy there. Venus and Jupiter and the moon, they don't, they're like, it's not so nice here. They don't love being in the sixth house, right? So with Venus and Uranus in the sixth house, could activate some things with your aunt and uncle on your mother's side. You could suddenly be like, you know what, I want to get a pit bull and a chihuahua. You could also have a lot of changes at work and be mindful, Capricorn risings. This can bring on a work affair, okay? But you could be very innovative at work. You may literally decide that you are going to invent or create something, right? Capricorn risings, having this, you also have to watch out for your nervous system and digestion. Venus, and so really watch what you're eating. And I would recommend Capricorn risings more of the high frequency, and this is for everybody with Uranus conjunct Venus. No more polyester, right? We got to get into the cotton, organic cotton, linen and wool. Linen and wool, just like in the Bible, we don't wear them together. They cancel each other out, but they are the highest vibrations of clothing. We also want to get into the color therapy, right? We want to start to get into using grounding mats, right? Gaia, Mother Earth, connecting in nature, grounding mats in the house, on the bed. Also, copper. So you're going to see for Cap risings, this is going to bring a lot of changes and transformations and sudden downloads. Going for walks in nature, Capricorn risings, going to be really important for you. Obviously, you're dealing with the Pluto in the second, Saturn, Neptune in the fourth, a lot of things in your home. Capricorn risings, watch out. When Saturn transits the fourth house, you guys, you can literally have flooding through the roof. And with Neptune being there, you could have pipe damage. So be careful for that. And I would increase your spiritual practice, Capricorn risings, okay? Aquarius risings, well, you're going to have this in your fifth house. So I think this is really nice because this can help you to tap in to your, sorry, my mouse is over here dying, your past life karmas and different things like that. One thing that I like with the fifth house, it is dating, romance, fun, sex, high school, college, but it's also the first child. So Aquarius risings, definitely you could have a child that may want to date the same sex. You could definitely want to tap into the esoteric and occult knowledge. And this is the time, Aquarius risings, with Pluto on the ascendant. Adios, mijo. You could be like, yeah, I'm becoming an astrologer. I'm going to make astrology jewelry, numerology. I'm going to make my own oracle cards. I'm going to be a Reiki master. Like, this is that energy, Venus, Uranus, and strap on with Uranus in your fifth house. Anything. You could have crazy downloads of creativity and serious, but this is the time for shadow work, Aquarius risings, okay? And so activating your heart chakra and Venus and its planetary joy in the fifth house, create it, share it, speak it. Anything from your heart, the fifth house is your heart and your back, do it. Now, you could suddenly have some back pain. I would also say this is education, and I don't encourage it, but gambling, lottery, what's it gonna hurt? A dollar, put a dollar to win or a scratch off? Because you could win. If I had Aquarius rising July and August, I'm like, I got to be in it to win it, because we could waste a dollar anywhere. So hey, I mean, it's worth a shot. Because with Venus Uranus there, it can suddenly bring in extreme wealth. Okay, Pisces risings. We're dealing with this in your fourth house of home. With Venus Uranus there, you can suddenly move from your home and homeland, move to another nation or country. But this could be getting a new vehicle, getting a new kitchen, remodeling your house. And by the way, Sag risings, you could be remodeling your kitchen literally because seventh house is the kitchen. But in the fourth house, this can get us into our vehicles. Any middle school children, Pisces risings, they could be going through a lot of changes. Oh, mom, relationships, it's hard, right? Well, when our young people start dating, you got to deal with like the dramas of that. It could be pretty hard emotionally. And, but Pisces risings, this is where you can suddenly connect to your lineage through your mother, right? The downloads, if mom's alive or if mom's passed away, you can connect to mom, grandma, great grandma. Remember, the fourth house is just on that mother's lineage of mom, grandma, right? Her siblings we see in the sixth, and like her cousins we'll see in the third. So the fourth house is all through the mother's lineage, your roots and ancestors. But this is the emotional mind and quite literally your home. So this also could be growing, right? Some of those root vegetables Janice was talking about, Pisces risings, you could be growing those in your fourth house of home. And really, this is where I would get a sound bowl and tap in and increase your spiritual discipline and practice, because you already got the North Node on your ascendant, and you're dealing with the Saturn, Neptune in the second house, Pisces rising. So there's a lot of spiritual activity, which always is for Pisces rising's life, but definitely exploring higher consciousness. But there could also be some, and I always got to point out a little bit of the negative, like a sudden, breakup in the home, or sudden drama in the home with relationships, or, sudden arguments with mom. You know what I mean? Could have a sudden vehicle accident, or like something happening with your refrigerator breaking, like just, basic mundane stuff. But like this could be a great time to remodel the home too, right? Maybe you get a new roof. Maybe a storm comes in and you need a new roof, okay? So it could all play out. Aries risings in the third house. Having the Gemini here, wow, you are going to show up on social media. And if you're an Aries rising and you're an astrologer, you're going to be getting like relationship, love charts, synastry charts, composite charts. I want you to be innovative, but really communicating about the self-love. One thing that people forget about with Venus conjunct Uranus, it's not just vehicles or entertainment or relationships, it's also the relationship to self. Exploring the self-love is going to be extremely important and necessary. And this where you can also change your mode of travels. I don't recommend electric cars. If you feel you want one, have at it. At the most I would do is a hybrid, but just be careful with that. But Venus, Uranus here, that can change your mode of transportation. And please, I've already gone through it. Don't deal with these e-bikes for these children. They are dangerous, and they're starting to get banned throughout the country, different cities and states. Just be careful with those bikes. Venus, Uranus in the third house. Aries risings also, you're dealing with the Saturn, Ceres, and Neptune. So there's a lot of discipline and self-love that you got to focus on in this time. And maybe you can suddenly heal a relationship with your mom or younger sibling or a cousin. And you can suddenly have a crazy neighbor, or you could wind up having an affair with your neighbor. Aries risings. I mean, I'm not recommending it. I'm not against it. I mean, I am against that, but you got to do what you got to do. So Venus, Uranus in the third house. Also, your skills. This is where you can get into robotics, automation, writing. You can become like all of a sudden you go viral on IG or TikTok. Yeah, big time. Okay, so Taurus risings. Uranus, Venus, Gemini, second house. Now, Taurus risings, this can be really nice for you, right? This is where you can suddenly become like clairaudient, like all the clairs can activate, right? This is where your intuition, you're going to have that sixth sense. You can suddenly increase your wealth because this is the second house of money and earning money, right? Venus, Uranus here, you're going to have a little spiritual decoder. You will be able to sift through the BS that people are spewing at you, and your speech can be really like, whoa, like, what did you just say? You're like, oh, well, like this is where you can tap into the Akashic. Taurus risings, like this would be that time you want to like work on becoming a psychic or a medium of the Akashic and take classes or whatever, Reiki master, stuff like that. A lot of healing though from your words. And you could receive an inheritance. And same thing with Scorpio risings. I forgot to mention that. There could be things around inheritance, okay, or wills, or I may have a woman on in June really talking about wills and family trust. Very important. right? Life insurance policies for your kids. I highly recommend it. I've done this for all my boys, right? Also makes the police second guess whether they should be assassinating these kids in the street, right? If you got a life insurance policy, they won't be doing that. And you're like, oh, how would they would know? They know everything, you guys, okay? Don't think they don't know who we are, what we have, and stuff like that. They know. The church knows your birth chart, okay? They know. Okay, so just really think about these things, but this could be that for the Taurus risings, a lot of things around your values and self-worth. It's a great time to be like, you know what? I am worthy, Taurus rising. I love myself. I'm amazing. Okay, we've got to work on that, you guys. And with Taurus risings, you're dealing with that stuff in your 10th house Pluto and the 12th house of your dreams. Dreams are wild for Taurus risings right now. Any Taurus risings here, it's you're going through a lot, so just, really tap into that. And I would recommend writing down and, doing the dream book protocol that I talk about. It will really help you. Never forget, right? 2137 and different things like that. So, and those Aries crystals in the bedroom, Taurus risings, very important. Now, last but not least, and then we will get to the chart reading, Gemini rising. So Venus and Uranus on the ascendant, but remember, you're going to be dealing with the Pisces North Node. You're dealing with the Gemini rising. You're dealing with the 9th house of the Pluto. So you already know with Uranus coming on your ascendant, like life's going to be changing. Venus, but this is where you have got to tap into the self-love. You have got to really focus on, I am worthy, I am talented and gifted, and you're going to change. The next 7, 8 years of your life, you're not going to be the same person, and it is going to bring up so many gifts and abilities. You're going to tap in, and along the way, spiritual discipline and your practice is going to be key. Keeping your crystals with you. You may want to get a piercing, a tattoo, color your hair, all types of stuff, but it's really going to raise your consciousness, and it's really a beautiful energy. And with that going on too, especially for the air signs, right? Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini risings, with this transit, and then, you got the Pluto in the 9th house for the, next umpteen years, the next 19 years, right? You just got to know, I got to sum of this, you're not going to be the same person. And that's a good thing. But shadow work's important. And really, whether it's going to be at age 44 or 56 or 68, you got a book to write. You got a story to tell. You are the messenger. So, have at it. And I think it'll be really important. So we're going to get to the chart reading now. Any questions for any of the rising signs? Obviously, we don't want to talk about, so specific because I want to get to this chart reading, but just overall with this energy. And, remember, it is Cancer season. So our souls, look at your chart, wherever your Cancer's at, we're going to feel kind of at home. That's why if you notice the summer, we don't feel as stressed in the summer. We're out in the sun, but we don't realize we're supposed to spend more time out in the sun all the time, even in the winter when we only have a certain amount of hours of light, right? When it gets dark at like 5 and 5:30 and 6, we still need to be out during the day. We need the Schumann resonance. We need the light cloak. Why do you think they're trying to block out the sun? X-class, M-class solar flares, we're literally getting codes to change the DNA in our bodies and to affect and change Gaia Mother Earth. That's part of the ascension. These codes, these frequencies and vibrations that are coming from the sun. That's why they're spraying and spraying and spraying. And hopefully that's going to change with RFK. He already put some stuff in with the food. Let's see if, we can get rid of some of these, chemtrails. Who knows? So let me know if you're ready. We're going to get to this chart. Any other questions or comments? Remember, we're going to do this again. And next time will be the permanent transit. So definitely come for that one, because Uranus, Gemini, you guys, we can expect a lot of things with our nervous system. So that's why I said hands in rice, warm water, squeezing sponges, lotion, Epsom salt baths with crystals, lotion on the hands, the back of the neck. We got to do things to regulate the nervous system because Uranus will affect that in Gemini. Gemini rules the nervous system, hands, lungs, right? We got the wrists, shoulders. Okay, so we also want to protect that. And Venus, Uranus, I don't know, get the best chocolate you can. And if you're going to eat chocolate and have a cheat day, do good quality chocolate. Don't just go get a Kit Kat and try to eat it on Fridays. Work with, that's what I want, this Pluto, Aquarius, and Uranus, Neptune, Aries, and Uranus, Gemini transits. Learn to work with the days of the week. Learn to work with the planets. Don't work out on Mondays and Fridays. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday is best. Then you could add Wednesday, Sunday if you want to work out 5 days a week. You don't work out on the moon day and Venus day, Monday and Friday, right? That's counterproductive. So when we start to really understand and work with these planets, which are really light body energy frequencies, right? Everything is, like this desk, this computer, these chairs, our microphones, right? You guys in your homes, everything, we can't visually see it, but everything is got a vibration and energy and frequency to it and moving. So we just have to be ready because consciousness is going to raise and what we think is real. Now, don't get into the VR stuff and all this other, whatever. That stuff, that escapism. See, this is what's so beautiful. See how God makes no mistakes? That escapism is really going to be null and void. If you've noticed, nobody cares about the VR. Like that stuff, everybody thought it was going to be so popular. It's come in. Nobody's really doing it. You get a couple of gamers and some real people who they're like druggies addicted to any new tech that comes out. But Neptune and Aries and Saturn, at least we're safe to 2029 with Saturn. But with Neptune and Aries, it's like, it doesn't want that escapism as much. It's more about sovereignty. It's more about working out. It's more about walking into your I am energy. It's more about not being overly assertive and aggressive, and the Aries I am energy having a little bit more compassion and empathy. Remember, Aries, they're not ill. They don't really have mean bones in their bodies. If they step on your toes because they have to go somewhere, they may not say sorry, but they surely didn't mean it. And if you told them they're like, oh, my bad. But they're off and they're going. You know what I mean? Aries initiates, but what's going to happen until 2029, they have to slow down their initiation. Think before they react. Not be so impulsive. The Neptune is really kind of changing everything about that whole escapism, right? We will have a glimpse of it though from October to February. Watch the escapism. Watch the media. You'll see, all of a sudden, people are going to be more into victim stuff again. But then it'll be stomped right back out. By 2026 February, it's going to be nope, we're not having that.